James felt his feet sliding on the dirt as he defended against the wolf's attack. Once back on the ground, the wolf snarled in frustration at not being successful at attacking James. But with the daggers that James had in both hands, it was cautious. It understood that the weapons in its opponent's hands could inflict significant damage on it. Seeing the wolf, James could tell that the wolf was far more experienced than he anticipated. It was even possible that it was stronger than the forest cats he had fought against in the past. "I'll need to end this soon," James thought. He was worried that the wolf's growling would attract other monsters from its pack. Being a wolf, I imagine that's part of a pack, and this wasn't typical, being away from the other forest wolves, James thought to himself. He lunged at the wolf with his daggers crossed together in front. At the last second, he flipped one of the daggers and slashed at the throat of the monster. Once again, the wolf dodged. Anticipating the wolf avoiding his attack, James was ready to push off the ground and follow the monster. With his other dagger, he stabbed at the side of the thing. This time, he aimed for where he thought a vital organ would be located. The eyes of the wolf widened in alarm, not expecting the counter. James smiled as the dagger pierced into the side of the monster. The monster cried out in pain. It landed on the ground and stumbled, blood trickling out of the wound. There was a mixture of anger and fear. "I don't think I was able to get past his muscles," James grimaced as he kept the daggers in front of him. Though the blood let him know that it was injured, James wasn't confident if the wound would be enough to affect its combat abilities. With how the monster acted when attacked, it was clearly intelligent and could handle itself in a fight. The monster looked behind James. By the look on its face, it was calculating what it should do. It glanced at its companions, both riddled with arrows. Returning its attention back to James, it growled. Thinking that it was going to attack him, James raised the daggers. "This time, I'll land a decisive strike," he thought to himself with determination. Both Maya and Mim had done the job, and now it was up to James to complete his task. The wolf howled and then turned, before dashing as fast as it could away from James. James was stunned as he watched the monster escape. It took him a moment for his brain to process what just happened. Seeing his prey getting away, James crouched to dash after it. "James, let it go," Mim called out. Stopping himself from moving forward, James straightened himself and looked back to Mim and Maya. Seeing that James was going to question him, Mim said, "We don't know if other monsters heard the howl and are coming towards us. It seems that monster was far smarter than it appeared." Maya looked at Mim. "What do you mean?" It likely knew there was a possibility that James would give chase, and since it was injured, the chances were slim that it would be able to outrun James, so it howled. Even if monsters don't hear the howl, it probably knew that we would become cautious and decide not to chase after it, Mim said to Maya and James. Maya looked in the direction that the wolf ran. She was clearly surprised that the monster was able to think so far ahead. "That thing definitely is smarter than typical monsters," James said. He let out a sigh. Walking over to where the other two monsters were lying on the ground, James bent down to wipe his daggers on the monster nearest to him. He sheathed his daggers after getting the blood cleaned off. "At least we were able to get two," Maya said. Rubbing the back of his head, James said, "Sorry about that. I should have been able to take that monster down."